If we could have roll call, please.
Craig Koshaw.
Here.
Bill Carboff.
Here.
Ken Meyer.
Here. We were emailed a copy of our minutes from our May 1st meeting. If you've had a chance to approve or to read those minutes, I'd look for a motion to approve.
Motion to approve the minutes. Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from May 1st. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, thank you. That has been approved.
We Bill? Joanne's got it.
No. I don't have a lot on the agenda, but Mr. Hitchcock, would you like to go first? Council members, whenever you guys get done, come on up, because we don't have that much, but what I have, I need you for also, so. Mr. Hitchcock is here. Did you want to turn that microphone on? Right there in front of you.
Yeah.
Push the button in and hold it.
Fill in your address on the check. Sure, put it on there.
All right. Dead batteries again.
It worked earlier.
Is that cool? Did it?
In the museum, I think.
Okay. Talk loud, Jim.
Anyways, the reason I'm up, we had our agility test, aptitude test for some new volunteers. We had 5 of them pass the agility and aptitude test. We're putting on 4. The names are Arlo Neal, Trevor Gray, Jimmy Sheets, and Blake Adams.
Say those names again, please.
Arlo Neal,
Arlo Giels,
Trevor Gray,
Trevor Gray,
James Sheets,
James Sheets,
and Blake Adams.
Blake Adams.
Yes.
Okay, and James Sheets, Jimmy, his dad is a fireman,
Correct, that's Jeff Sheets.
Jeff, and we've looked into the conflict of interest and the nepotism thing, and that's all okay since it's just a volunteer thing, right? Okay. Just wanted to clarify that for the record.
They all did their pre-drug screening, they all passed that. We're waiting the approval to take them off.
Are you still looking for more, or does this get you back up where you need to
This will
be?
bring us back up to 25 volunteers.
25?
Back in '93, we had 20, and they went to 1 on that year, and then the 2 years after that, it was 2, we got up to 25, and that's where we're full at, is 25.
Okay.
We've been down a few, but now we're back up there.
And who is the captain of the volunteers?
We have 3 line officers, Leo Fiesel, Jeremy Gilbert, the safety officer, Tim Allman, Todd Martinez, and Tony Simpson. They kind of oversee all the volunteers.
Okay, good. Good. Bill, Craig, you have any comments? If not, we need to, I guess, give Jim the approval or deny these 4 names.
Motion for approval of those candidates.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the 4 candidates that Jim and Les have come up with. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're good to go. That was easy, wasn't it?
That was easy.
Hey, Jim, while you're here, come on.
Do you have things tonight before work?
Well, one thing,
Literally. I'm going to do that.
I want to talk a little bit about the artist loft and the parking lot leases. I had a chance to go through those today.
Let's do that now, if you want to.
Okay.
Because everything I have, I'd like to bring before the council.
Okay. I bet this is yours, Tim. Oh, yeah, I need to give that to Kirk. Thought I laid it up there and he must not have grabbed it. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
I'm going to let Tim go ahead and take care of the things he wants to talk about, because the other things I have, I'd like the council members to weigh in on.
Well, this one they may want to as well.
Okay?
Okay, I received from Mike Blee a draft of a lease for the artist loft, you know, our portion of that building, as well as the parking lot lease. This apparently was prepared by their tax counsel, and Mike just got me a copy on May 8th and said, take a look at it, I'll look at it, and then we probably had to get together. But, one of the things that, there's some things that I don't know what the answer is, and it's something that I don't feel comfortable deciding for myself. For example, are we just paying $1 a year for our rent? They're talking about a 35-year lease.
I thought they were deeding that over to us.
No.
No?
They said that initially they talked about doing a condominium, but then because of the tax credit, and they're saying now that it needs to be a long-term lease.
What's this for,
That's for the
downstairs?
the front of the building? Okay.
that would be the cities.
Okay, so they're not deeding that to us?
No.
Which was what I believe we were instructed, right, Bill? Yeah, Bill's shaking his head.
Early on, but then they changed it. They also said that it could be a long-term lease, depending on what tax council found out.
Okay.
So, anyway, it's a 35-year lease. Base rent, they just said insert a rental amount. From my perspective, that should be nominal.
Exactly.
We're going to spend money on it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. The other thing is, we're to put in and insert intended uses. Then there's a clause about real estate taxes. I don't like the clause because it kind of prorates
Tony.
it.
Is Melissa here yet? You don't know? She wasn't up there when you came in? Okay.
Yeah, it talks about prorating taxes, and I'm not real sure, frankly, whether the assessor has the ability to exclude from taxation our use, our square footage, because we're a tax-exempt entity. It may not be possible. But I don't know that I feel comfortable saying that we should pay a prorated share based on the square footage that is leased. That's how it's worded. So it would be the square footage of the 16 units plus our square footage would be the denominator, and the numerator would be our square footage. And whatever that percentage is, then we would be responsible for that percentage of the real estate taxes.
Which could be...
Which is probably going to be fairly significant. I mean, if you're talking about...
Wouldn't that be exempt?
No, it's not exempt.
Because we're leasing it from...
Well, I'm saying I'd like to see if the assessor can make it exempt. I don't know that they can, but if they can't, then they're trying to figure out how to allocate it. I don't think it should be based that way. But, again, I don't know that that's my call. A couple other things they talked about, there's upfront costs, and you can pay the rent in for the entire lease term up front. So I think they're looking at a nominal figure myself, maybe $1 a year. But we're going to put up front all the alterations. Once they get the shell in place, then it's up to us to finish it out. And then on an ongoing basis, you've got the real estate taxes, and the same percentage, whatever that calculates based on the square footage, would also apply to utilities, repairs and maintenance, common expenses, insurance.
Roof.
Well, the roof, they're supposed to maintain. The structural portion, that's their responsibility. But here's the thing, when you get back to common expenses, again, it includes things that I question whether we should be paying, because it says under common expenses, it says that we would pay during the lease term, operating, managing, and servicing the building and the real estate, including without limitation management fees, wages, salaries, and benefits of maintenance personnel, charges under maintenance contract, costs and expenses to perform or provide maintenance or repairs, and to satisfy landlord's obligation to operate, maintain, and insure the common areas, sewer, water, and stormwater drainage charges attributable to the common areas, cost to maintain retention and detention ponds, and they have that underground storage facility,
I suggest before you go any further that we...
I think we need to have a committee,
I think we need to have,
because there's
committee
a lot.
that's from Greater Decatur, which would be you, Kitson.
Well, I think here's the other thing. This is a lease between the city and them. The parking lot is a lease between
The
the
tenants.
redevelopment commission and them.
Are they saying they're not giving half that lot to us? Or are they saying
Yeah,
they're going
no.
to lease it to us, or what?
No, we own that property and we're leasing the parking lot to them. Yeah, so, and again, there's nothing in here that's, they seem to imply that they're going to construct it, but there's nothing in here that says that. It just says that they get half of that. I want that cleared up.
Yeah.
And there's issues in both of these documents that need to be addressed, and I'm not saying that they've said this was a final draft, take it or leave it. I think it's just a working draft to start from. But the problem is, they're trying to close this by June 1st. Well, this is May 15th, and there's a lot to discuss here, and I don't see how that's going to get finalized before June 1st. And the way I understood, they needed to have these in place before they could close.
Well, I suggest you get with Mike and let's get a meeting set up, at least with me and you and him and anybody else, and if some of the other, Kitson or Craig or...
I don't think that's Greater Decatur's obligation, I think. Don't get me wrong.
I think this is a council member
for what we're going to do.
Yeah, I don't think Greater Decatur's the
Interior
one.
rooms and stuff, but I think this needs to be handled by...
And to be honest, the parking lease, I may send down to Tom Pittman, because I think there's some issues there that I want him to weigh in on, because I'm not sure that that's valid, the way they've got it drafted. So,
It sounds like that what they want us to do as a city is to lease the lower unit for the dollar or whatever the minimum fee, and then they want us to manage the building. I mean, that's what I hear. When it comes to maintenance and fees and whatever.
well, I think we need to find out what all these common expenses are that they're referring
Yeah,
to.
so we can budget or plan for
Right,
it.
because these, you're going to have the upfront costs of the one-time rental, if that's how you pay it in a lump sum and it's a nominal amount, but you're going to have whatever the alteration costs are, and then you're going to have annual ongoing expenses.
Right. That's what I've taken
So I think we need to know, if you worked up the figure, if they're saying it's based on the square footage of what's being leased, they ought to know what the square footage is of all the apartments. We can compare that to our square footage, or add that in and then compare it to ours to come up with whatever that percentage is. That's going to tell us then the percentage. Then we need to know what we should anticipate here. That'll tell us the dollar amount that we're going to have to budget for.
We know that that front area that we have is 60 by 60. We know that. I know that our front mixed, it takes up more than half of that first floor. Okay, it's not... So let's say that first floor is 60 by 100, and you got 3 of those. That's 18,000 square feet, and we have 3,600 feet of that.
Well, you have 18, well, okay, yeah.
So
you're including it.
I mean, that's roughly 20% of the building.
Right, of those expenses.
Yeah.
So that could add up pretty fast.
Oh, yeah. Well, in my opinion, I think that if we're going to take care of that area, we need a meter where our area is,
Well, and that's the other
and a
thing.
water meter.
Yeah,
If that's the case.
he's got something in here like on the rent. The utilities would be based on whatever it is, assuming that we have our own meters. Otherwise, then that gets thrown in as
The
something
mix.
else that gets...
The mix.
Right.
Heating and air conditioning, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I gotcha.
So, and then there's provisions about indemnifying them. We have to make sure that hazardous materials aren't stored or spilled there, with the exception that it would be allowed for use related to the use of the property. But, if there's any hazardous exposure, it's our responsibility to clean it up, and we're indemnifying them. I mean,
Well, then,
And then if, what happens if one of their tenants dumps, thinner down the drain?
we talked about that a little bit the other day.
Yeah, I agree with you, Ken. That was
Or you got some material that can harden and suddenly plugs up the, is that our responsibility? I think we need to get this fleshed out, and that's going to require some discussions.
Well, Craig, you'd be willing to meet with them, right, with us?
I would be happy. I mean,
And maybe we could bring one other in, like Wiley's usually pretty available, maybe the four of us could meet with them.
Well,
And
and,
go ahead and schedule as soon as they can.
Okay.
This week's terrible for you,
Yeah,
sometime next week.
it's probably going to be next week.
Yeah.
But what I'm concerned about is, my guess is we're going to see another extension request, because there's no way this is going to get done.
Flag's got to flip.
And it kind of makes me mad, because this was supposed to be delivered to us back in early April, and then we get it in early May. So, it doesn't give us a lot of time to try to put it all together.
Over there, actually.
So I just wanted to bring it to your attention, and I really think we need to have a number of people involved in looking this over. Because it's not my call. So. Oh, okay.
Did you all hear what Tim was saying up here, guys, about the front space of the apartment?
do a long-term lease.
Rather than deeding it over to us. And
remember there was one.
Initially, they said that they were thinking about doing a condominium, and then I think they found that was going to create some issues with their tax credit financing, so it turned into a long-term lease, and they alluded to the fact it could be that.
So in this contract that they've sent Tim, there's a lot of unexpected things that we weren't really expecting. So we want to get together with Mike Blee and probably Kevin and discuss those things. So we'll get a meeting set up for that next week.
And does that mean that if it's a long-term lease, that we wanted to lease it out to somebody that's not allowed? Is that getting that in there?
Yeah, there's provisions in there that we do have the ability to sublet it, but they have to consent to it, and that can't be unreasonably withheld. So,
Did you have anything else?
no, because we'll probably bring things up. A couple of these other issues will probably come up next meeting.
Okay. You all know I go to meetings up at the Northeast Regional Partnership in Fort Wayne. They have their meetings with the county economic development directors, and then they also have meetings with the mayors and commissioners of the 11 states, 16 municipalities. And in the past discussions, they've been talking about the partnership hiring a lobbyist to work on behalf of the region. I got a letter from them, and I got an email asking me to reply to the letter. The letter is in reference to that, and to be able to hire a lobbyist, they've decided to start having dues to be a member of the caucus. And so they have sent me a paper here asking for $1,500. It was agreed that these dues might go toward things like contracting with a lobbyist, meetings with legislators, and other related ventures to ensure that we continue to receive our fair share. We are currently working with HPG Network to complete the appropriate paperwork with the Secretary of State and the IRS to legally establish the Mayors and Commissioners Caucus of Northeast Indiana as an Indiana-based nonprofit organization. Well, I talked with two of the three commissioners from here in Adams County. I asked them what they thought, and they both said, well, we find the value in having a lobbyist, and I do too. However, sending us an invoice for something that's not budgeted in May they're not going to pay it this year. Their answer to the caucus is that we want to be part of it next year. I don't think they're going to boot us out if we don't do it this year, but
You got to understand the budget.
yeah, there's 27 entities that they've sent a $1,500 invoice to, 16 municipalities and 11 counties. I don't know what the others are saying. I really wanted to talk to some other mayors, but I haven't had a chance to see what they were going to do. But I go up there tomorrow, and I was just going to give them a,
How often are you meeting with this?
monthly, every month.
I see a lot of value. Previous administrations, the mayors have been more or less involved with some of these groups. I mean, I think there's a lot of value in looking at the way other municipalities are doing things.
I've not talked to Mayor McKean, but Adams County has 2 cities. So Burn's getting invoiced $1,500. Mayor McKean never goes to these. I can't see them paying it, ever.
Is the county invoice the same amount?
That's another thing that kind of bothers me, because I feel like who benefits the most from the Northeast Regional Partnership? Fort Wayne, Allen County, Now, we all benefit, when they benefit from something, we all do too. But they're paying the same share we are.
Yeah.
So, before I go there tomorrow, I just kind of wanted to weigh in with...
I mean, there is definitely benefit, and they have a track record. That's why now you can go 469 over to 24 on Lafayette Center Road with a 4-lane road. That helped Allen County and Huntington County. And it was really that entity that made that happen.
Well, the road to $1 million, they gave away the $42 million.
Yeah.
We didn't get any.
Yeah, I know.
But we weren't in the position to do that, Madison Street would have been a fantastic quality of place application had we had our funding available.
But just that example, the opening of that road, for General Motors is right there, another expansion, another company, people that work there may live here.
Right.
Just as an example, so it is. And Travis Holman was instrumental in getting that pushed through that section too.
He was. And we have people very much a part of our community that works at GM. So for that
A lot of them
example, and it appears Travis did not get tapped for pro tem, so we need all the help we can get up here in Northeast Indiana, and this would be another avenue. Not that he still won't have some power, but we're losing that pro tem position.
But by you, Mayor, saying that you have been very involved and plan on being very involved with this group, I think not only is good, but if you were to say, no, there's much value there.
No, I think there's definite value. I just don't know whether I want to pay it this year as my only. I think next year definitely.
I think you're out of line saying we didn't budget for it.
Yeah. I can tell them I brought it to council.
But
I would share with him that the council is positive about this. We didn't have the opportunity for budgeting, and then field them out tomorrow and see how they
yeah, I would agree with that.
see how some of the other communities our size are thinking. They give them a positive reinforcement, but
Okay.
that's my opinion.
Okay, I'll take her from there. I'm sorry?
They're all doing the same?
Yeah.
$1,500.
There's no cap.
And Allen County pays $1,500. And Fort Wayne doesn't even send, the mayor of Fort Wayne doesn't even participate in these meetings.
Monroe, if you want involved, pay $1,500.
So,
Did they say how they arrived at the dollar?
I missed that meeting. Yeah. So they meet tomorrow again. There's 2 things I go to. One's the Northeast Indiana Regional Partnership, and then the other is just the Northern Indiana Mayors, which I really like that one. That's where I probably learn more at those meetings, because it's just it really is just truly the mayor sitting around.
Well, it is helpful. You're helping them times, and we're helping you.
Yeah.
The Northeast Indiana Regional Partnership presented at the
Oh, yeah.
Workforce development.
And it was fantastic.
And it was an excellent.
I thought he had a home run.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you and I both thought the same thing that day, and I think
Building
that-
relationships would not be a bad thing.
Nope, nope.
No, actually, it wouldn't be a bad idea for them to present to this group at some point.
Mhm.
Maybe a 10-minute thing.
Mhm. Michael's open to
Yeah.
Yeah. let us use him. Okay, that's that. Next thing, Melissa and Tony, are you guys ready for your announcement? Check that microphone again. Jim said he couldn't get it to come on.
On this page, I don't have enough for everybody.
We get that fine.
Please, this has the recipients of the facade program on it, and we ask that you keep this to yourself, please. If council approves this, if Board of Works approves it, I'm going to make phone calls tomorrow, and we'd like that information to come directly from us, not from So, if you can move it. I'm looking at you.
Start with that. I'm the good brother.
Can some of this be read aloud without saying too much, so that it's
I
kind
think
of...
I can summarize
Okay.
most of it. What you're looking is at what Tony sent to Decatur Main Street on behalf of the design committee that scores the facade
And
application.
again, remind everyone who the design committee is.
It is Tony Murray, Max Miller, Sandy Collier, and Alex Mendez.
And-
I kind of oversee the group as far as administrative tasks go, of collecting the applications and putting everything together for them to review.
But you're non-voting?
I'm non-voting.
Okay.
As we had mentioned at the last meeting, the committee received 12 downtown facade applications this year for a total request of $129,000 plus. The committee took about a month to review these. They met twice to discuss all of these projects, and I'll reiterate what Tony had sent in the email, what you'll see in that letter. The committee felt that all 12 projects were great projects that they wanted to support, and projects that they would love to fund, but unfortunately there is only $50,000 to go around. So at the bottom of that letter you will see the 4 projects that the facade committee has recommended for funding and the dollar amount that will go with those. Now, only one of those is receiving the full amount that they requested. The other 3 are receiving less than the amount that they requested.
On this paper, can you kind of indicate which one that might be? Because I don't...
1, 2, 3, or
Leave all
4.
mine away.
Yeah, we'll go by number 1, 2, 3, or 4.
The second business received the full funding request. The other 3 are receiving partial of what they requested. But it's still a significant enough amount that we believe they'll be able to go through with their projects and complete items with that money.
So the feeling was that if you gave some to all 12, nobody gets enough to do anything? Is that kind of a...
The amounts that were requested this year, last year we were able to take everybody down, I think it was 5 or 10%, and it didn't make that significant of an impact on their final number. So everybody was still able to do it. This year, the amount requested was so great that we would have had to cut it by 50, 60%, I think, just to spread it around enough to everybody. So we decided to go the route of,
More fully funding.
picking 3 or 4 projects and funding them as much as we can.
I like that. Better.
Do all the council members know who the 12 are?
No, I don't know who one of these is. Bottom one.
Mm-hmm. That's okay.
I'll tell you in a minute.
Would you like to know who the 12 are? We can say that publicly, right?
We can't say that publicly.
The 12...
Because I want to encourage them us to, hey,
And
keep going.
do you have
We
your
wanna
list,
do this.
Mayor?
I do.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, the 12 that applied were Ace 40.8, Vinnie's, Prestige Realty, EF Gas, Home Place, Marco's, Small Town Bar and Grill, The Oak Room, Mr. Planners, 5 Points Monuments, which is a monument company that's going in for Haggard and Sefton at the old gas station where the florist used to be. Second Street Lofts, and Two Brothers. Of those, and I have check marks here, and correct me if I'm wrong, Vinnie's, EF Gas, Home Place, and the Oak Room have all benefited from facade grants in the past and have reapplied for more this year.
Yeah.
Okay. Not that that means anything, but because they were still good applications.
We encourage everyone, I mean, if you can only do bits and pieces of your project every year, and that's what your budget allows for, then there's a small, a point deduction in our scoring sheet that if you have applied before, that you get a little bit of a dock. But it's not too substantial.
And receive the money? Or if you just apply?
If you've received money from...
Okay.
You can apply every year, but if
Okay.
you have received, then there is a one line item in the scoring sheet that we dock like
I think that's fair.
5 points or something like that.
That's
It's not
right.
huge, but it's...
So it doesn't hurt to apply, but if you get receive money, then you just get...
Right.
And Tony, what monies we give, they have to do 50%, is that correct?
Yes.
They have to, above what we give, they have to
Yes,
match
and they-
that as
and-
far as their improvement.
Yes, and they are...
And they can go over?
Yeah, they are required to do their portion of the match first.
Okay.
So if they request $5,000 from us, they have to do their $5,000 first. Then the next $5,000, Melissa has it worked out with them to reimburse them as they go along. If they want to spend another $100,000 and they've got it,
Okay.
great.
Yeah,
But-
right.
They just have to do the 50% match.
The list that you have before you, that list was provided to Decatur Main Street for their approval, and there were no issues from the Main Street members, so now it comes...
You're saying the Main Street
Board.
outside of the design committee?
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
They'll probably vote on that, what?
It was emailed to everyone just because of time constraints. Normally would have presented it to the board, but we didn't want to wait another 2-3 weeks till the next council meeting, so
Once they have, once you notify them, they got the green light to go, start?
Not exactly.
Well-
There's some paperwork that I have to go through with them for, and Phyllis, that I work with Phyllis on, that they have to sign a contract, the contractor has to sign a contract, there's some E-Verify situation, W-9, those kind of things before they're given the green light to proceed.
But this summer, they can be...
Correct. I would think that by the time we schedule appointments with them to kind of do another, okay, this is definitely what you're going to do, and that they understand the contract and they sign all the paperwork, it might be 2 to 3 weeks-ish before they can get started, but we'll get it going as quickly as we can.
Great.
So you're going to, if I get, so you just need the Board of Works approval on this,
Yes, please.
and then once we give you that, you're going to contact the people?
Tomorrow, everyone will be contacted by phone, and then everyone will also receive a letter by mail from me.
All 12?
All 12. And then we will set up appointments with the 4 buildings that were awarded to begin that paperwork process so they can get construction work started.
And when will this go public then to the media or whatever? Will you do a press
Whenever
release on
I
it?
can actually talk to every person that applied, then I will do a release out
Press
to
release?
everyone.
Okay, all right. Any questions?
Hopefully by the end of the week.
Hopefully by the end of the week, if getting back with people.
You don't have anything else to do you?
Everyone is very interested to hear the results of this, and we're excited for these 4 projects to get going.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to let you know that the design committee has a tough job. They genuinely want to fund everybody. And, you know, some people could look at those lists and be like, well, I'm not going to do this one, that's just off. That was not the case with the group. They all truly wanted to fund every project. And so it's going to be a little bit of heartbreaking when we have to make those phone calls.
I'm sure. I see some on here
But, you know, we're going to remind them that they have great projects and please reapply. And
you know, and some of them are newer businesses that would benefit if they next year. Maybe they'll even be more ready at that time.
We've got if the ones that don't get it reapply, we've got a full roster already again for next year. So the job isn't getting easier.
No.
Which is good.
No, but downtown's looking nicer.
I'll make a motion that we support the committee's decision on these for the facade program, and thank you for your time and commitment and for doing that.
I'll second that.
Okay, and before we vote, I want to thank you guys also. I know the day that you guys met, you were in the room across from my office. I got up and shut my door. I didn't want to hear anything. I didn't want to know anything. Then you guys got up and shut the door as well. So, no, thank you. I know it wasn't easy, but I thank those people for giving of their time and being fair about all this. So, with that, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the same.
I think it's nice to get all the positive comments that's going on, and I'm sure you hear it, and it has to make you people feel better, and it certainly makes the city feel better. And I had a comment today how nice it looks, and they said, you really do a nice job, and I said, I'll be honest with you, I'm just a small part of it. But yeah, it's good.
Definitely money well spent.
Yep, you got that right.
And please keep it to yourselves and
Yes,
for a
yep,
couple
yep.
days.
What?
Well,
All right.
I voted last week and I may have forgot it. How much was it total that was applied for?
129.
$129,715 was the total asked for. And I think
12 paid
the
places.
amount
Today.
that would have been the match was over
Several.
$300,000.
Yeah,
So
right.
total
yeah.
was upwards of $450,000.
Wow.
I believe would have been the investments this year. So there's a lot going on.
Yep, for sure.
So be ready to extend this another 5 years.
Yeah. Okay,
All right,
thank you. Jeremy, you got some things you want to go over? We have a lot of time.
I got a lot of things.
I know you do.
Hey, how long are you going to be there, boy?
He's not even bringing any notes.
Bob's not even here.
No, we're sleuthing and giving some more pins. Where you want to start at?
I didn't write anything down, so let's just go, let's start out with Washington Street and the progress with the bore.
Yeah, a couple meetings ago, you guys approved the bore under the railroad tracks. Plumbing had just a little bit of an issue over there. I think part of it was time, part of it was a potential leak when they pressurized the line, so they will be coming back on hopefully Friday to get that finished up and get it tied back in. We have worked ahead a little bit, being a little bit proactive, and we're this week extending the 40 feet of water main down each street, kind of stubbed off of the new main to get out of the paving limits. So next Wednesday, weather permitting, when they come in and start milling, everybody's out of the road. The new water main is extended past the limits. So, for an example, like down 10th Street, which we've basically lived there throughout the year at different times along Hoosier Pattern, when we pick that main up,
we're actually just digging on 10th Street and then going that direction. We're not digging back into the new pavement. So that should get finished up tomorrow.
No, what did you,
And
what
then
did,
waiting on Greg to come in on Friday. Greg probably has Friday, Monday,
Greg is with,
Fleming.
okay,
So
to finish the bore, the connections and all that.
The bore's in.
Yeah.
They're required to do a pressure test, and they're pressure testing against kind of a specialty valve that is known to not always hold air. It will hold water, but not always hold air. So that's kind of what they're dealing with, to figure out if they've got a fitting that's off or leaking on the pipe, or if it's just blowing against that valve. So he had to pull his guys out before they figured it out to head to Columbia City.
So, you used the word milling in your conversation there. Are you saying that once the connections are made and everything, the next step is to mill Washington Street
Yep.
and then repave Washington Street?
Yep.
Hallelujah.
We're going to have a party and dance down there.
Is everything settled in pretty good then? Don't have any more problems? You'd be still driving all red if that street was smooth. That's great.
But keep in mind, it's only from the railroad tracks back west.
Yeah.
Because
To 27?
Yeah, there's pretty extensive work that needs to happen on the east side of the tracks over the next year or two. So that pavement is a little bit better shape than the west end. Not a lot, but, you know, we're...
Well, you haven't dug near as many times in that stretch as you have from the...
So that's all new, from 27 to
New
railroad
wire.
tracks? We're all good.
We're good.
You shouldn't be digging there for a while. Shouldn't be.
Unless something weird happens, we should not have to dig back in there. Buckeye Pipeline's been in the last couple days. They're pretty ecstatic that we're getting away from them and getting new pipe under them, because it's a pain in the butt for them. They're just not as much as what it is for us. Anytime you're within 25 feet of Buckeye Pipeline, they have to be standing there over top of you when you're digging, to make sure that you're not endangering their lines and such.
Hardly blame them.
Because if you hit their line, that'd be the last thing that you do.
Yeah.
Your crew and part of that residential area, so they're very safety cautious, and they're very happy. Their boss has been in the last couple of days, and he's happy that we're getting everything away from him.
That runs right up the south side of Washington Street then, doesn't it?
There's 3 lines in there,
Okay.
and they're all high pressure. So, yeah, they're big lines. So, that's kind of the,
when they pulled it out of the ground.
just on that little end of it. I would think by Memorial Day that should be all black and nice and smooth.
It's only 2 weeks.
Did you already come with the contractors going to do the mill and fill, or mill and pave?
Yeah, they're coming in Wednesday to start milling.
That's Brooks.
From tomorrow, yes. Brooks was low on the whole package this year.
So, I might have that list of, did you get the list of council members, or council members, did I even email you a list of
The
where?
last meeting, we passed them out.
You passed it out, okay.
According to my figures, we'll be able to do the whole list, but the last 3, we may still be able to do the last 3, but those aren't real high priority areas at this point. If there's still money available, we may do a smaller round towards the end of the summer before the kids go back to school.
Okay.
Because keep in mind, those are all in estimates. If you get into some bad spots where they have to add more asphalt, it's by the ton. So you have to be a little cautious so you don't run way over.
Well, there's a lot of things I'm going to have you address at the council meeting, but rather than having you do it twice, let's just save most of it for then. But for now, you and I talked a little bit earlier about 2nd Street out here.
Yes.
I think we should talk about that now.
We've been working with the paving contractor out here on Monroe Street and NDOT to make sure that we get everything covered prior to the paving. They're moving right along on the handicap ramps, and
Explain to everyone, or did you do all that last time?
No.
As to why they're replacing all the
No.
handicap ramps that were totally fine.
about every 2 years, the standard changes on the handicap ramps, and it changes so minute that anytime NDOT touches a handicap ramp, being, they're paving by them or they're milling their paving, they have to be brought up to today's standards. The biggest change, and it's kind of small to those ramps, is NDOT no longer recognizes the brick inlays. You know, Craig, for years, the detectable plate for the blind, they always put the bricks in. Bricks were a big thing years ago because they were easy maintenance. If a brick got broke, you know, they can send a couple of maintenance guys around, pop the brick out, pop a new one in, put a little sand over it and go. The standard has changed over the last 4 or 5 years, obviously a few times, but now they are going to the fiberglass detectable plates. So in order to change all that out, they turn the whole ramp out. I'm not going to make a comment on it. I know we're on record, but
And then NDOT
there's
never has the
very
money to give
minimal
us.
changes to some of these corners.
And they took out the rumble strip too, didn't they, right before you get to it?
That's the detectable plate that we're talking about. They're changing it from the brick to fiberglass for the detectable dome. So, you know, it's kind of a gimmick, but hey, it is what it is.
that weird curve thing down on First Street?
Some of them they're changing just a little bit. Yeah, and when you look at it, it doesn't really look like there's a whole lot of room there for a wheelchair. I haven't measured up. I'm sure that it is, but you know, you have to maintain a minimum distance between those poles and the curb for a wheelchair to get by. So, they're thinking they're early next week they should be all completed with a lot of those ramps. So, but it all depends on if they keep getting afternoons like they did today. So.
So back to 2nd Street.
And then with that, right out front here, you've got a water main under the east side of the street out here, under the sidewalk. It was put in like 1890. We have discussed numerous times, Dan and I, way back when Dan was still here, Dan and I had talked about it, Bill and I had talked about it. Kevin and I really talked about it last winter, and we purchased all the material to replace that line. We did a portion of it when we did the First Street project last summer, when we come down First Street and went up Madison. We made the provisions knowing that with the Madison Street project there was going to be a lot of disruption and such, and got a lot of that old pipe out from under Madison. And we started this way just shy of the music house. Before they pave here in probably 2 or 3 weeks, our goal is to...
You're talking paving Monroe Street?
Yes. Our goal is to make a new water tap out in the middle of Monroe Street. Start laying the main back to get at least 2 gases. In front of you have gas building away from all the traffic loops prior to them paving. Now, there's other things that go along, that kind of go with this project is Biggs has been asking for a sprinkler tap for the music house, the loft. We have a valve downstairs for the basement sprinkler system that does not work, that we need to get the sprinkler system certified. In order to do that, we're going to have to make a different tap for that sprinkler system. A lot of these are old services that feed these buildings. So I talked with Ken a little bit tonight. What we're going to do, probably the first part of next week, is work a couple of evenings, have a crew and a half roughly come in, and get as much of this work done at night as we can to get out of the way of the paving contractor and the concrete guys, get past the loops, and then kind of see where we're at time-wise. Working on 2nd Street out here during the day is like next to impossible with the amount of traffic that we have. We're going to have to, when we dig that, we're going to have to swing out into the street because there's not enough room to swing around the buildings. So we'll pretty much have to have 2nd Street shut down during that point. Our preference is to do it in the evening. It will not really disrupt business because most of the businesses will be closed. The traffic disruption, they can still get around, you know,
go up another block and let everyone come around. It's safer for us, it's safer for the motoring public. We've been very fortunate the last few years. That current main that's servicing all these properties on this side of the street lays right under the sidewalk, so when there's an issue, it fills up the basements to these buildings. When we cut it down here at Madison Street, it was just like taking a knife and going through butter, warm butter that you just took out of the microwave. So, it's a time bomb. We need to get it taken care of in the short term.
So materials, we've already got them.
Materials have been paid for since this past winter, so it's just timing of getting everything in the ground.
Taps into the buildings?
The taps in the building is only on this side of the east side of the street. So there's some testing that has to go along with before the check's sent into the state prior to hooking up the buildings. That doesn't have to happen right away. We can cut off the old main out in Monroe Street. It will still be fed from the south. Wait on the testing, kind of coordinate some of the things with the festivals and stuff, because we're going to have to be cutting the sidewalk, pulling sections of the sidewalk up to tie on to the new water main. So, that portion can be ongoing over the next, few months or whatever it takes to get there.
On the street, not the sidewalk.
We are going about 4 feet off the edge of the curb, from the curb about 4 feet out, 3 to 4 feet out.
And it'll get repaved when they're doing this, they'll do this.
We will
No, they won't do this.
either have our paving contractor come in and put it back in when they're in town paving, or it's a small enough area that we can run it back in and then roll it in. Hopefully with timing, our contractor can just run his paving machine right down the side of the curb and just take care of them while it's here.
And
But
then
when you do the building taps, then you'll have to cut sidewalks?
Yes. Yep, we'll have to cut a square out of the sidewalk, make the tap, run it into the building, and then pour the sidewalk back in.
But it shouldn't disturb the pavement.
Should not
We should be okay.
pavement. Or make
Well
the
done.
taps, or make the taps and go on. You may have just a little bit of a cut, but, you're gonna be within this far from the curb, so.
Saw cut?
Yeah, just salt cut it and come back into it, so.
And how old is that water line?
1890 something.
120 years.
There's more. There's more just like it.
The whole print of them. just-
Well, but the beauty is, we got 2nd Street, or Monroe Street pretty well cleaned up, at least to the railroad tracks, with the underground, underneath the...
Where I know.
How far are we gone? How are we doing on Monroe Street?
No,
Are we
it's all
good to
true.
3rd, or where we...
It's better than most. It's not great, but it's better than most.
Okay.
So
So in the future, if we have to go under Monroe Street, we're going to bore?
more likely.
Okay.
Yep. So
But there's all kinds of things under Monroe Street.
there's all it just blow your mind really.
Right.
Long term, we need to keep working south along 2nd Street.
Okay.
To make it to 5 Points by the time the 5 Points construction would be. So, all that's taken care of, all that old pipe's out of there. And then it gives whoever the contractor is, when the intersection project comes up, something good to tie onto.
Good pipe.
Yeah, and then you're pretty well set, because your whole downtown area went through the CSO project, the combined sewer separation. So the sewers and everything are in good shape. Not in the street for the most part, so, to me, it's a gimme. We gotta do this, so
So we're in pretty good shape on 1st Street from Monroe to Jefferson?
everything's done.
Or Jackson to Jefferson then?
Jackson to Monroe is decent.
Okay.
We've had some trouble with Jackson, but not...
There's not much there, though.
There's not much there, no.
Okay.
And we did away with some really old pipe last summer on Jackson. There was 2 mains there, and we did away with the smaller of the 2. So the majority of that old infrastructure is gone.
Okay.
You may still have a little bit at the intersection, but nothing like we had in the past.
Good.
Jeremy, what's your time frame when you dig up, like you dug up on 1st Street down by
down near the corner. Yeah, Marshall. And that's still gravel in there.
Soon.
I mean, what do you have, once you dig up, do you have a certain time frame? Or
We
does it
we
sit
normally
there?
try to get a few before we start patching. We have not patched yet this year due to some excuse me, some of these other projects going on.
Right.
Once we get the water main on First Street here, over the next few weeks, there won't be near the work ahead of us that we've been chasing.
We have our own roller now.
Yep. So a lot of that stuff will be pretty easy to get taken care of over the next several weeks. We're not going to be near as busy this year as what we were in the past couple of years, so it gives us a little opportunity to get some yards patched, get some streets patched,
hope
and such. Well, I'm pretty confident.
Okay.
So,
Is there anything that you want to talk with the Board of Works about that can't wait until the council meeting, or is there?
Phyllis, you want to talk about the sweeper that we talked about
Oh, yeah.
today?
Yeah.
Way back in 2003, Bill Patch was still street commissioner. He had ordered a 2003 street sweeper, Johnston street sweeper from Brown Equipment in Fort Wayne. Normally, the manufacturer and Browns recommend that you either start looking after 10 years, looking to replace, or do some rehab on, pretty major rehab on your current sweeper. Obviously, we've made it long past the 10-year point. But we're getting into more frequent breakdowns, almost to the point that every time it goes out, we're having to get it back in the shop. Joe's bringing it back with something wrong with it. Due to the federal emission standards that's ongoing, the final Tier 4 engines will be out this fall. In order to, and I tell you what the final Tier 4 is, it's all the upgraded emissions to where you have to go to DEF fluid and stuff, which I know a lot of you don't understand, but with that comes a very extensive price increase. It was something that we were going to be budgeting in 18, or not 18, but in 19, as a cost share with the stormwater department, because it really benefits the stormwater probably the most in the general appearance of the city. But you're looking anywhere from a $25,000 to $30,000 increase past August of this year.
Which takes it to what?
To
200,000 plus.
230, 225, 230, I believe.
Like 244 or something.
Yeah, so I can't remember the exact dollar amount.
A little less than 50.
There's some
$250,000.
options, if we choose to wait. Obviously, we're going to be paying that 240-ish range. If there's a possibility of an additional appropriation and get it ordered by sometime in August, you're down probably the 215, 220 range. I guess we're just looking for a little direction because we're at budget time here. Are we, going to just take the increase and...
Did you buy that brand new in 2003?
Yes.
Is that what you recommend?
Yeah, I do. I'm not a real big fan of a first-year machine because you never get the bugs worked out of them that first year. It's constantly back in the shop. I'm almost thinking that if we don't do something this fall, that we send the machine back up there. It's been about 5 years since we've sent it back up there, and you put $10,000 or $15,000 in it and hope for the best. And they go through the whole thing. And then you still turn around and pay the increases, and you could be you could be putting that $10,000 or $15,000 back on the top of the price of the new one.
because we're kind of in that situation with the steel tariffs and stuff that are going on right now in the Tier 4 engines that, we're kind of going to be stuck.
Is that the type of machine you really want?
Yeah.
Okay. It's not like you want a Bobcat with a hydraulic
No,
broom and a bucket.
No, this is actually the...
You need something like that to do your
We have
duties.
to have something like this. Probably the most frequent comment that you get is, "Where's street sweeper?"
Yeah.
Street sweeper.
Right, I heard that some of these different.
It's in the shop.
Yeah, once you got it,
Broke down,
you want to see it.
Our
Burn-
permit requires that we sweep our street.
Burn went through the same thing.
Okay.
Mayor McKean just said, "Hey, we're going to have to do this." And they ended up doing the same thing. They actually got theirs late this winter. It's...
How long does it take? What's
We're
a...
hoping...
You order it, and when's it coming in? Is it a 6-month deal?
What they're going to do, and it's every community is facing the same problem. But if Brown would be awarded the purchase through the bidding process, it is, however, they can, 4 months, 6 months, whatever. What they're going to do here in another month or so is they're going to order X amount of them, because a lot of these communities are in this problem. If they're awarded the bid, it's first come, first served. If not, once they run out, they'll run out. They're looking at model change here in August. And the model change will go to the Tier 4 engines. 2 years ago, almost 2.5 years ago, they were $185,000. So they've taken that much of an increase. There is one other company that's coming in on a week from this Thursday. He just wants to demo a sweeper. He knows the problems that everyone's having. So we're not set on a dealer. I'm just here to kind of fill you out and see
In the meantime,
exactly what our options are. They've given lease options. They've given, outright pay options.
Lease to buy?
Yeah, they have like a 3, 5, and 7 year lease. Or you sign up for the 3, 5, 7 year lease, it's like $60,000 or $70,000 a year, but there's no early payoff. If you sign up this year for a 3 year and in January you pay it off, there's no penalty to pay it off. But it all goes back to I don't have the money budgeted. So if we would go through the additional appropriation, you're either appropriating the full amount or whatever the utility doesn't pay, whatever our balance is, or the lease, which would be only about $30,000 difference.
Did I hear you right? The manufacturer's recommendation is you run it for 10 years and get a new one.
10 years, and you consider either a major overhaul
And we've got how long?
or
15.
about 15, yeah. So we've done well with it.
Throw money and fix it.
And it's always something.
One more question. If we make this decision before August, is that we're going to catch a Tier 3, or are we still going to catch a Tier 4?
We're going to catch Tier 3 before it goes to
Okay.
final Tier 4. But just to remember then in 10 or 15 years,
Right.
we're going to be at the final Tier 4, which
there could be
they will have,
Different than two.
there could be something different by then, and they will have all the bugs worked out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you'd recommend a Tier 3 if possible?
Yeah, and
I agree.
I've talked to Tubby, our mechanic, and he's saying the same thing. He goes, if we
this a diesel
have
outfit?
to wait, yeah, if we have to wait, we'll just have to go through it this winter, because he's not a real big fan of the first year engines either.
In my experience, you don't ever want to take the first model year of
No.
new Tier.
And they're still going to be the good John Deere engines, but there's enough of them, an emissions change, that it's going to really jack the price of that machine way up.
Jeremy, if you, okay, so Don's going to contribute towards the acquisition. Would he have enough that he could pay for the initial lease payment and then you have the budgeted funds the first of the year to pay it off?
We could,
Is that what you're recommending, or?
no,
what-
we can either do the additional appropriation. Phyllis and I talked about it today, we can do an additional appropriation. Don's half would be available now. We can do our additional appropriation for MVH, or wherever you guys choose to pay it out of, and just pay it off altogether when it comes in. Or, you know, they broke it down into lease options. There is an option on that paperwork that turned into Phyllis and Ken. This manufacturer has the state bid. So it's already the QPC.
So you could rely upon that and not even go through the bid process?
It is a QPC pricing, so.
Until we get a new one, does anyone rent these things?
No, not really. We're running ours whenever we can run it in and out of all the repairs. Sometimes you get 2-3 days out of it, sometimes you get a few hours out of it. So, and it's really gone downhill the last couple of years.
So is the state price then somewhere around $240, $250? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I would have to get you the number, but yeah. And that would speed the process up.
240? I thought you were saying that.
I would have to read it.
The tier,
I haven't read it.
the tier 3 is 240? I was thinking that was what the new model was going to be. That's
Now, instead of throwing numbers around, let's get the paperwork and look at it so we don't confuse everybody. But
Is the old one worthless?
you're probably 10,000-15,000 on trade is what they threw out a number of. So we're probably the 230, 225, 230 mark prior to trade. So you're probably 200-ish. You know, you're going to be upwards of 235, 240-ish.
The main thing is you have to have clean streets.
Yep.
And we've got 15 years out of a 10-year.
Out of a 10-year machine, a 10, 12-year machine.
Well, really, then, if you go the additional appropriation, that's really the only thing that's going to hold you up before you actually commit to buying one.
Correct. And are we satisfied with the going off the state bid? It is going to be the question, because if not, you're going to have to put it out for bid. It'd be a 30-day bid process.
The state's done for you.
To me, I'm very satisfied with what we have, and very satisfied with the service that we have through Brown Equipment Fort Wayne.
And that's what the state bid is.
And that's what the state bid is on that,
So
that brand, that model.
makes sense if that's what you recommend.
Sorry to bring this to you, but it's been a pain in our rear end the last few years, and it's just gradually gotten a lot worse.
Yeah, it's one of those things that the community depends on, for sure. So,
Board needs to basically okay it subject to council appropriation.
All right, I'll make a motion that we take his recommendation under advisement to further vote on by council.
Second. Before the council meeting, if Phyllis, if I can get with you, we go over and get the paperwork that I gave you. I don't have it on me.
I was trying to find it on my emails here.
Is that okay?
So we have the definite amount that we're going to discuss in the meeting.
You seconded that, Bill?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? There we go. I don't have anything else for the Board of Works. You got a lot that you can cover in the council meeting again. I wrote some things down here, so
Okay.
if nobody else has anything, I'd look for Tim.
Just one question. Craig, was your motion that you took it under advisement, or you approved it subject to?
Approved advisement from Jeremy to bring in front of
You're
council.
you're approving his recommendation,
Correct.
subject to council appropriation?
Correct.
Okay,
Does that sound fine?
yeah.
Thank you.
That was my goal.
Okay, yeah.
Easier, Mr. Walker.
Hey, we got to adjourn first.
Motion to adjourn.
Have a motion to adjourn,
So moved.
and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned.